Next up, we've got an amazing panel. We're going back to the basics here. We're going NFT Marketing 101 with a fantastic panel. Please welcome, give a warm welcome to Naomi, Celi, Caroline, and Max.
Here early. You guys are the early birds. And hope you guys had a fun night last night. So yeah, I'm Celi. I'm head of marketing for Crypto Tech Women. It's an NFT that launched earlier this year in February and sold out, and it got a lot of support from a lot of celebrities and people like Eva Longoria. And then also building my own NFT collection of cute little adorable kids. So bring the experience of having launched a big collection and sold out during the bull run, and then now building and launching and marketing during a bear. So that's a little bit about me, and also bring over 10 years of experience at marketing at corporate companies and startups.
Nice. I'm also happy to hear all that. Is this one on?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So my name is Caroline. I am the content strategist at Teli Labs. Teli Labs is a storytelling NFT company, brand, whatever you want to call it. We have one project called Jenkins de Valet, which many of you may know. And our second project that we're working on is Azurbala. So yeah, I basically run everything that is related to content. We do a lot about storytelling, so I think that within this panel, whenever you have a question, I will try to give my sort of 2 cents on that. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and meet all of you.
Awesome. And you, Max?
Hey, everybody. First of all, thank you all. I'm excited to have a conversation today. My name is Max. I'm Chief of Staff at Blockbar. We're a marketplace that partners directly with luxury brands to sell NFTs that are actually tied to physical bottles of luxury wine and spirits. So we partner with top brands like Johnny Walker, Hennessy, Patron, and sell bottles of liquor to either invest in or drink. Our NFTs you can trade, collect, or eventually redeem by exchanging the digital NFT for the physical.
All right, awesome. And maybe just so we can gauge how the audience is well knowledgeable about NFTs. Is anybody here a total beginner to NFT marketing? If you could just show a hand. Okay, great. Intermediate, advanced people. Nice. So we're going to be judged harshly. Great.
You guys should be up here.
Let's just run now. Let's start maybe with the most basic question. What do you think NFT marketing entails? Maybe you want to, yeah, you already moved your mic, so.
I mean, I think it's different a little bit for every brand, every project. Of course, like if you are focusing more on liquor, then probably your story and whatever you want to market is a bit different than when you're telling the story of a Bored Ape. But in general, I would say marketing is always about bringing your voice and your story, your brand out there to the public and making sure that there is basically a connection established with the people on the other side. We are going to dive later, of course, into like the difference between NFT marketing and traditional marketing. It's really easy to already just roll into that. But personally, I think it's all about just telling your story and making a connection, and especially with NFTs, having that with your community. So traditional marketing, of course, is like more of a one-way street, and I feel like NFT marketing is all about the dialogue between your brand and the community.
Yeah, anything to add?
Sure, yeah, I think Caroline said it very well, that it does differ between either your brand or project, depending on what the goal is, because I think we all can agree, like, marketing's goal is to inherently build value. For something like, you know, a storytelling where a community is involved with it differs from what, you know, someone who owns a luxury wine or spirit is trying to do. So at the core of it, it's just making sure that whatever you're doing, you're building value for that goal. If that's to have IRL events, it's making sure that the marketing is focused on creating value for these IRL events. If it's for, you know, wine and spirits, it's making sure that this community is being seen, it's being heard either as an investment or someone who's trying to drink. I think you said it well, like at the end of the day, it's about building value.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, a lot of the NFT marketing is going to be similar to Web2 marketing. There's a lot of overlap, but I think with Web3 marketing, it's a lot of innovation and testing because there's no one real playbook, and I think that's the exciting part. If you're here and you're building, is you have the ability to just see what's working and try to be really creative and see what works. But yeah, there are some things that do work better than others in Web3 and NFT marketing, so we'll probably dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think there's also things that work in the bull market but don't in the bear. So I think now is a really interesting time also for marketers to try and figure out what actually works, because in the bull just everybody is hyped about sometimes stuff that doesn't actually make sense. And now it's when you actually have to deliver. But you already touched upon it. So what do you think is like the biggest differences between traditional marketing and NFT marketing?
Yeah, I could share. So I think with because yeah, I've worked with a lot of brands and entrepreneurs in Web2 and helped them. And so some of the things that tend to work well is social media, like Instagram. People are starting to do well in TikTok and Web2. Also, like people focus on content writing and SEO. So with Web3, the majority of your audience is going to be on Twitter naturally. And so that's like a great place to start, is setting up a Twitter and connecting with people there, building like authentic relationships, joining spaces. I know for Crypto Tech Women, one of the things that worked is our founder was on spaces like at the beginning, like three times a day. Like she was spending like 6 hours a day just making relationships. And so now, like naturally, we have an audience of over 20,000. And people just want to always do Twitter spaces with us because we're known for that now. So it's definitely like being on Twitter, but I've also seen you can launch and build marketing outside. Like if you already have a little bit of a following, or if your expertise is in Instagram, for example, I've seen people bring over those people into Web2. One creative way I've seen is just messaging people that you're connected to on Web2 and then like setting up calls with them and onboarding them into your NFT project. So that's, I think it goes in line with like how to be creative in Web2 and Web3.
I think you touched on like an interesting thing about SEO, because I also come from traditional marketing. We used to always say, okay, it's Instagram, Facebook, advertisements on those platforms, and then there's email marketing and SEO. And most of that sort of got shoved away when I got into Web3 marketing. It was, okay, you're going to be on Twitter, you're going to be on Spaces, you're in Discord. In the bull run, like bull market indeed, it's very different. You get a ton of giveaways on Discord. You would have like all the whitelist posts on Twitter. Now there's not so much of that anymore. And that's, I think, also definitely Web3 marketing. It's a lot of trial and error. You just need to constantly pivot and see what is working right now and be creative with that and try to come up with maybe different ways to do it. Things that do have an overlap are indeed like partnerships. And in the beginning, we didn't have that much influencers, I would say, in the NFT space, but it has definitely come up and people follow them now. And it has become increasingly important. We ourselves at Tidy Labs, we have Thread Guy, which some of you may know, like we work with him, but he's part of the team. But we use his voice, and we do try to use like voices within the NFT space to sort of, you know, enjoy their reach, basically. And that is something that's interesting. Like you can definitely have partnerships in various ways. They can be friendly, they can be very business-like, but there are ways to sort of benefit from that. And then, of course, like press, just going on to podcasts and spaces is super, super helpful.
Yeah, totally. Kind of what we talked about with marketing and its core and building value. I think similarly with your audience, you have to find out where your audience actually is. Testing and learning is a great example. Like our mission is to open up an asset class of luxury wine and spirits to a younger demographic. I know it has so many overlaps with a lot of different collectibles, which is what's so exciting about it. And we use NFTs to solve two of the biggest problems of authenticity and storage in luxury wine and spirits. And for us, when we started, you know, obviously partnering with these large brands, we went down the LinkedIn channels. You know, you go through the email, the newsletters, and then we started obviously switching over as our demographic, and we were learning more. Because what's so interesting about Web3 and NFTs is you really receive in real-time feedback almost all day, every day. Most of the time, it's usually constructive, sometimes a little less constructive than we'd like. But that really gives like a brand an opportunity, and is usually a pain point in marketing in the traditional space, where you kind of put budget, you put allocation and resources to something, and never really get the feedback or the, you know, exactly what you're looking for on those projects. Where now, like, you're testing and learning with the community, you're getting in real time feedback, and you're able to develop these plans based off that.
Yeah, I also want to add something that I like to do if you're a data-driven person is I like to always see when we do a marketing campaign or a space or we're on a podcast is looking at the data in OpenSea and seeing how many sales if that broad just to see how much of an impact that made while floor price and sales are not always the sign for marketing. It is just one way to look at it. And so something we found has been podcasts, being on podcasts has been really helpful to drive sales. And the reason is because when you're on a podcast, I think naturally the founder or the person from the team is sharing the story of your brand and you're on a podcast for 30 minutes. So people really feel like they could connect with you. So I think having that connection with people has been really helpful as one way of marketing.
Yeah, and I feel that's a really genuine way to put out your brand. Obviously, being genuine and transparent is such a big reason for success of NFTs and Web3, and podcasts are such a good opportunity for your founders to be themselves, for your employees to speak pretty candidly on their mission and what they're doing.
If I can add one more thing, is anybody here working on their own project right now? Or, yeah, so okay, we have some people. I don't know what you guys are working on, but depending on your brand, your project, we are talking a lot about Twitter, Discord, podcasts, spaces, but it is important to remember that indeed now we are kind of in a bear market and there is going to be a next bull run. And what happens in that moment is that new people who come into NFTs, they might not immediately go to Twitter. They will probably go to Google or find you through a podcast. So them actually going through Google means that you should think about SEO. And when I researched this, when I came into the space, I found that actually there was such a big advantage because not any brand or project was doing it yet. It was wow, you can actually score here and get on the first page. That's amazing. That's really hard. And many other, if you want to be #1 in liquor, that's hard. NFT liquor, probably right to the top. So look at it, make sure to benefit from it, because right now you can still use the benefit to your advantage when new people start rolling in.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on your audience. If you, for example, white labeling NFTs and offer them to businesses, you might want to invest more in LinkedIn and building your newsletter and all these things. But yeah, so do you have any tips for people who actually start their project and want to start marketing now?
Yeah, I think a good way to do that, and this is generally for all businesses, is to have an end goal and work backwards. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if the value is more so on the experience side, if it is more like an investment, all the marketing should be based working backwards to get to that goal. Driving community, making sure that whatever you're doing, all these projects are eventually leading up to that end goal. And I think that's where the most success is.
Yeah, we start almost everything that we do with story, of course, and then what's the intent? What do you want to actually achieve? So it's kind of the same. We kind of work backwards as well. And for us, we always try to see okay, does this still match the story that we want to take people on? And for us, it's maybe easy because we are such a storytelling brand. We have one Bored Ape that we basically tell stories about. Azubala, our second project's all about stories. But if you have a separate brand, something that's completely different, let's say you have a shoe brand for NFTs or NFT shoe brand, whatever, then you still can go back to yourself and think, okay, how did this brand start? Why do I like this so much? How did my love for shoes begin? What was the first sneaker I ever got? Try to bring those stories into play, because that's how you sort of create a connection with your audience, right? Or audience, I shouldn't say audience, I should say community, because that's really what we're more about. Because you want to establish that connection, create emotional value, and then you can start a conversation. And that's sort of where the magic happens.
Yeah, marketing is storytelling.
Yeah, I would also add, I think that there's also a big distinction between marketing with female projects and male projects. In my household, we are two different target markets. So I am typically a customer or a supporter of women projects. And so when I'm looking at their marketing or what they're building, I look at who is the team, what is their vision, and what the why. And so that's like kind of, I think, what the marketing should be about. And then when you look at some of the male projects that I see my partner buy, it's a lot about like hype and like alpha and like how he's gonna like flip them. And so I think figuring out like who is your, like which type of project you wanna do and how can you like focus on that, because the strategies for marketing will be separate. Or will be different. And then I think something else for people starting out, because we get inquiries like every day on new projects wanting to partner with us and wanting to offer us whitelist or pre-sale spots. So I think like figuring out how you can be unique and not just ask a brand that's already launched, like, hey, we want to partner, we're an amazing NFT project, can we could give you guys whitelist spots, because that's not unique anymore. So try to really get to know like the partner or the NFT that you want to partner with, and then offer them something special, whether it's some free NFTs or something of value, not just like asking them to give to their community something to sell.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we touched upon it already a bit, but what would you say are like the 2 biggest platforms people should focus on if they want to do NFT marketing?
I would say right now still Twitter and Discord, if we can count Discord. If you really mean like a public platform, I actually think people should take Instagram a bit more serious. We have definitely not been doing good there. Like I'm working on that, but they are very focused on also bringing NFTs into their platform. And think about Facebook just wants people on their platform. So if you can do that, then they will also bring you up, and it's a way to reach new people.
Yeah, I recently did a poll to find out like where people are most active outside of Twitter, and the number 1 is Instagram. Seems a lot of people are still active there. So I think while there's a big way to go for Instagram to be like a big market there for NFTs, I think that could be another platform. And then the second most was, I think it was YouTube, where the majority of people go to learn like and hang out. And then third was LinkedIn. So I think if you, based on your expertise, like your skill set, if you like to create reels, I would say you could focus on Instagram. If you like to do longer form video, then Twitter or then YouTube. And then if you are like you're active on LinkedIn, then that could be a platform for you.
Yeah, I always say that LinkedIn is extremely underrated in NFTs. It's a space that obviously is super traditional. With Blockbar, I always say we're NFTs for mom and dad because we're actually tied to a physical product. We're solving a problem that they probably have faced before if they are a buyer of luxury wine and spirits. And it goes back to finding that target audience. Totally agree. Like podcast, Instagram is such a good way to like build your brand, build out like what this personality of this platform you're building. But for things like LinkedIn, it's been really successful for us as a company who has drops, every week, every 2 weeks with a different partner. Building the awareness and credibility within the LinkedIn community, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah, I would also still mention TikTok. I am personally not a huge fan of TikTok, but I know that there are a lot of people who are on TikTok, and it is still one of the bigger platforms. But what I would say is, like, if you go to TikTok, then take a good look at your content and just see if you can use the same content on TikTok, maybe also on Instagram. Don't do everything double. Look at your own bandwidth and then decide, okay, what are my priorities, and go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You don't have to do all of them at the same time. If you are alone, you're not going to be able to do all of them. So choose wisely.
And often in Web3 marketing, you are alone in your team. So, I mean, I've been there all the time. Yeah, and I think what's ironic as well in Web3 is that most of the discovery happens outside of marketplaces for NFTs. So like Instagram, for example, is amazing to find like artists. So that's probably something to be aware of. And who knows, maybe someday some marketplace will solve it. But until then, we shall see. And maybe you can all tell people how they can connect with you and follow you. And if you have like one marketing tip for people here in the room, and then I think we close it off, else they will.
Yeah, I would say, so one of the perks that we launched in our utility this quarter was doing mentorship with projects, and one of the things I did was auditing their Twitter, and you'd be surprised, like a lot of Twitters, it's so basic, but like your profile, like describing your profile and like having like what's the value of it, like pinned at the top. So yeah, if anyone here would like a free audit of their Twitter NFT project, definitely connect. You can find me at ETH Barbie, so ETH Barbie on Twitter. I named that after my first NFT. It looked like a Barbie, so that's why that's my name.
That's a good name. Well, you can find me as Little Fortunes, at Little Fortunes. If I could give one tip to everybody, it would still be figure out your story. Look at your brand, try to see if you can give a personality to it, figure out what your tone of voice is and how that matches your community. And then start a conversation, start telling them stories, and definitely look at their responses. If people like it, then, you know, go forward with it. If you get less response, then try to pivot a little bit and figure out what is better.
Yeah, you can connect with me. Like I said, big LinkedIn guy, but Twitter, Instagram, Telegram as well. I think the best advice given to me was by our community manager when we first started about building your true 100 fans before getting your 10,000 fans. When we first started, all I could think about was like blue check mark, 10,000 followers, all I wanted. And he basically said no, because the value in that really decreases when, you know, there is a bear market. When you do have those 100 true fans built in, when you eventually reach those 10,000, they're there to support you along the ride with the challenges and successes. And I think that's been a huge part of our success.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody so much. And maybe just to add from me, don't forget to have fun. Well,
How can people find you?
you can find me also on LinkedIn, Naomi Ober, or on Medium, because I'm a writer, the same name. So yeah.
Medium is another platform.
Yeah, a lot of people forget. It pays my bills, so.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.